Welcome to the Pro-Black Perspective, where black problems are addressed with black solutions. Your host tonight is the author of the Pro-Black Compendium and Zuberi and the Maroons of Ma'at, the Pan-African Nationalist, Oni. Oni, what are we discussing tonight?
All right, peace family. What we're doing today is we're going to do what's called Who Are the Enemies Within? And we're going to do this every week until it's no longer necessary to do it every week. But we're going to go over it. We're going to go over, now you already know there's 6 categories of enemies, right? Of course the ABAs, the Manginas, the Past Me's, the Comrades, and Evolutionaries, and the Pan-Africanists, okay? But this week, I was trying to just do 5 of them, but, ABA started acting up, 2 days ago, and so I was like, you know what? I didn't know who to put that, I didn't know who to credit with that, but I'm going to give it to the ABA. So, ABA's got 4 this week, Comrades got 1, Evolutionaries got 1, and we're going to go over them. We're going to discuss and really show you what's wrong with that. But before we do that, I want to remind you that I'm part of a podcasting network, and I advise you to check out all the podcasts on this network.
This is D Webb with the Harsh Reality Podcast, asking you to tune in where we tackle the news of the day that affects our community, only on KWAZ Radio.
Greetings, everyone. This is Koku from the Bitter Medicine Podcast, inviting you to tune in to the Bitter Medicine Podcast on KWAZ Radio. You are listening to the Pro-Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio.
All right, peace family. Appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all in the chat. Organic African Paradigm. He says I'm the first person to hit the like button, so I appreciate that. I got 2 likes, so appreciate that. He gave me half of them, right? Kofi says greetings, and Tyler Solomon, great brother. He said you made an Excel spreadsheet of enemies, of course. That's all you got to do. You always got to make an Excel spreadsheet of everybody who you want, who you're supposed to treat as an enemy, right? And by the way, everybody, the link is in the description. And of course, I actually wish I could do this not in alphabet, not in whatever order it's given. But I'm not really. I don't want to do this at random. So we're just gonna go into it, and obviously we're gonna hammer down on the ABAs first and foremost. Okay, so you go to this tab on the bottom and you see ABAs, right? And we're just gonna look at all of these links, and I'm gonna tell you what's wrong with them, perhaps, but also let's say, how can I say this? Just that. Oh shit. Okay. All right. All right. So anyway, check this out. FBA. Oh yeah. Sorry. This is actually pretty interesting. So this is one of these FBA things. This guy says calling ICE isn't snitching, and this is somebody named Rilla Perry. This is actually a really interesting story. The reason why this is an interesting story is because allegedly, right, this gentleman might be of Ghanaian descent, like direct Ghanaian descent. He might have been adopted by other people into America, and yet he's really pushing this American angle. And I want people to understand this, that you do not have to. What this is called the grift. ABA is called the grift. ABA stands for anything but African. I'm going to call them, the FBA, ADOS, whatever. Basically American flag, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. But the reason why you, the reason why this is a grift is because, just look at it this way, all right? I actually put up this tweet just earlier, right? I had a deep analysis of Chapter 5 by Kwame Nkrumah, okay, of conscientism, right? That was 2 months ago, and it got 32 views. Now, you see, what that tells me is this. I should not do that again, right? If I could do 32 views, if I could get 32 views in 2 months versus if I could get 20,000 views in 2 days, then clearly what I should be doing is doing the thing that gives me 20,000 views. You know, when we talk about capitalism, I want to talk about capitalism. When we talk about capitalism, we're talking about market drivers. Market drivers. And what it comes down to is that your people are driven by the market. You know, a lot of times Americans like to tell us that, you know, what we like is sex and violence. We also like drama. And what drama is something that has to do with other people. You know, dogs and cats, animals don't really give you drama. Plants don't really give you drama. Okay? I think it was actually, I hate to bring up this white girl, but there's this woman called Eleanor Roosevelt. And she had a quote that goes along the lines of, I think dumb people speak about, like dumb people speak about people, right? Mediocre people speak about events, and smart people speak about ideas, right? What we're doing is that we tend to ignore that there's a lot of dumb people among us, okay? So what we do is we speak about ideas. Now, I don't know if that's a direct quote because it's probably not, because clearly she's speaking about people. So she's just be calling herself dumb. But all the same, when you set up your narrative to be against another people, that's what draws people, because that's drama. You know, that's what draws people. That's what's drama. When we set it up to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to discuss conscientism, you know, big idea, that's not it. So that's not so much it. Now, me personally, I always seem to take issue with us talking about ideas, but you also have to realize that that's what dumb people want. Now, here's this guy. He's like calling ICE, right? ICE is basically like immigration, like anti-immigration in America, something like that, right? He's like calling ISIS and snitching, and of course he might himself be an immigrant. Now, I'm not 100% sure on that, but you know, I'm gonna put him on as one of the enemies within. And the thing is this, that realistically speaking, I know some of you are gonna say, well, blocking him won't do anything because, you know, like I blocked him and he's still active. Sure, that could be a concept for you, right? That blocking him won't do anything. That could be a concept for you, but the reality is this. What happens is this. If people like drama, if people like looking into people, and I mean, of course I'm going to be guilty here, so it's all right. But, you know, it is what it is, right? If people like this sort of drama, they like looking up this kind of stuff, you're going to draw more attention to these people regardless. You understand? You're going to draw more attention to these people. And I mean, of course you say, well, I'm drawing them for the same reason you're drawing them. You got to have intelligence on these people. Sure. Right? But now, when we talk about enemy within, I want you to understand that means that, like, you got to understand how to treat your enemies. All right? And I'm going to tell you guys a story, and I'm not going to say that this is what I'm encouraging per se. Right? But I remember back when I was, you know, a comrade in a sense, right? You know, back when I was an evolutionary too, right? I remember, you know, learning about revolution and all that. And I said, look, as soon as this revolution kick off in America, because I was convinced it was going to kick off soon. Because that's what they teach you. They teach you that revolution is going to kick off soon. I said, the first thing I'm going to do is go over to this coon's house, right? And shoot him. You understand? If you really believe, now here's a difference between what I just said and how we react, how we engage ourselves, right? If these people are your enemies, right, you have to be conceiving of a way to physically keep them straight. Okay? You have to think of a way to physically keep them straight. That's one of the things that we don't realize, is that when other people don't have any consequences, when all you have, like, all right, no, sorry, not no consequences. When there are two types of consequences. Those are punishments and rewards, right? They could be physical, they could be financial, they could be scientific. Okay? You remember that Marcus Garvey said, the only way to end injustice in man is power, physical, financial, and scientific. Okay? So that's where I got that physical, scientific, financial from. But when I say consequences, that's rewards and punishments. This is basic military science. I'm telling you the truth, right? If I can release a video, right, and all I can get is rewards for it, no punishment, then why wouldn't I release that video? You understand? Why wouldn't I release that video? If all I'm getting is rewards, why wouldn't I release that video? So anyway, let's look at this chat. So Tyler Solomon again says, peace only. I agree. Documentation is important. Of course. Kofi says, got to keep a track record as a reference. Right? Organic African Paradigm says, I honestly ask myself the question all the time. 20,000 views or 100 views, but my principles will not let me go so low. I know, it's tough. It's tough. That's the most discouraging thing. You know? And my thing is this. See, because I like programming, right? So I be seeing these white boys on, these white boys don't even do anything political. They just make video games. Just stupid ass video games. And they get views. They get money. This one boy, this is a game called Dungeons and Dragons, right? He makes like funny videos of Dungeons and Dragons, right? So then he says, hey, look, I wrote a book of level 1 scenarios for Dungeons and Dragons, right? And it's gonna have a lot of funny, out of place, out of place scenarios for this role playing game, right? And you would think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Why would anybody? It's a teenager, a fat little obese boy. He's not even that funny. And it's really niche. Dungeons and Dragons. This boy does a Kickstarter, right? He wants to get $20,000 for this Kickstarter. He gets $650,000 in under a month. Okay, and you realize, I tell you, like, the thing that people do is that the white people support each other. They support each other physically, financially, and scientifically. Okay? So this white boy writing a joke book. And then so now I say to myself, hey, look. I can write comedy. You know what I'm saying? But like I can't sink low. I can't put my name, but there's a lot of money circulating around, and it's mostly circulating on white people, and then that's why you also realize, that's one of the other things that you realize about black folk, is that it's not so much that we don't even have a lot of money, because that's one of the things I forgot to show too, was this one sister is showing off the kind of shoes she bought for her kid, right? She showed off the shoes that she bought for her kid, and these are baby shoes, and she got like maybe 10 pairs of Jordans for a baby. Right? And if anybody knows anything about shoes, is that they grow out of them really quickly. And if you know about shoes too, Jordans are expensive. And she bought 10 pairs of expensive shoes for, and when I say baby, I mean like a newborn. A baby that can't even walk yet. And I tell you, this is the same people. These are the same people. And you might say, well, what's the issue with that? She's buying shoes. The issue here is that that's a lot of money going to white folk. And when black folk then say, you know what, I'm going to have to sell my ideas to white folk, because they do that. Black folk do that because black folk are not patronizing. You see, if black people are just patronizing this coon stuff, that's where the money's going to go. That's where the efforts are going to go. A lot of these black folk, you have to remember, a lot of these black folk, in fact, there was this big chat, and that's the chat I'm going to go over in another link. There was this big chat where maybe 20,000 people showed up, right? And the brother behind it, well, I shouldn't say brother, but the trader behind it, right? He was down for the cause 4 years ago. But he was never trending. He was talking, oh yeah, I got to find my home in Africa, right? I got to do this other stuff. He was saying all that 4 years ago. And of course we mocking him now. But now when he says, hey, I'm an American and Indian, right? And all these other people join his room, and he's leading this movement now. Or not leading this movement, but he has a face, he has an identity. That's what, he already knows what he should be doing next. He already knows what will get him canceled and what will get him accepted. He He already knows he getting hit up by women. Hey, you look good. You look like a good-ass Native American. Let me call you chief. Right? Before it was like, hey, man, he was like, yeah, man, I'm all African power and African empowerment. They wasn't trying to hear that. And we wasn't trying to hear that. We was like, yeah, shut the fuck up, man. Yeah, you need to go read some more. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, let's keep going. Talasam says, do not take views personally. There are videos of John Henry Clark, Amos Wilson, etc. that more unlikely will never hit 1 million views. Oh yeah, definitely not. Yeah. I mean that's one of the tragedies. That's the thing, because like let's say this. Let's be real. We're in the shadow of this hip hop movement. We're in the shadow of this hip hop movement. We're in the shadow of these TikTok personalities, these TikTok humorists, and that's just what it is. And like I said, like it's not even just the white boy. The white boy could, he could do some niche stuff. I'll tell you guys, there's this, because I look into, like, I like to program. I like to program. I like to think that I can make a game in the future, right? And I mean, like, yeah, these white boys got even tabletop games that they just making money from. They getting views, 2 million views on people sitting around on a table doing role playing. It's a real thing, Anyway, so David says, great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. And, you got to realize that our people are, like, we have a lot of small-minded people. You have to realize that we have a lot of small-minded people. I just saw, we have a lot of small-minded people. It just, like, at some point, you just got to accept that. In fact, I'll tell you this. So when I was learning how to write, because, I went to the public school system. You don't learn how to write through the public school system. Okay? When I was learning to write, I had to self-teach myself. I went on Gutenberg at the time. Gutenberg's a website where they give you free books and all that kind of stuff. And I looked at some old treatises by some white boys about how learning to write. And this white boy said this. He said, look, that might have been a century ago, but he said, 1 out of 1,000 people know how to write. And then 1 out of 1,000 people who know how to write know how to think. And the thing is that if you ever pay attention on this planet, you're going to see a lot of people who say that they're independent thinkers, right? And yet they think like everybody else. They just saying that they're independent thinkers, right? And then you're going to find some people who actually are independent thinkers. In fact, you see quite a few of them in this comment section, right? But the point being that that's a rarity. You can go to the people in the comment section and be like, hey, you know what? Here are my thoughts. And they say, oh, well, I like those thoughts. Here are my thoughts. Right? But then you go to other people and they say, yeah, I never, or you might go to other people and say, hey, here are my thoughts. And you say, and they say, oh, that's deep. Or they say, oh, okay, I think I heard something like that before. Or they say, sure, I never read anything about that, right? I mean, some people would say that. A few people say I never read something about that. But you're going to see that there are some people who read and some people who don't. And I think it was Marcus Garvey who said, a reading man is a ready man. No, a reading man is a ready man. Yeah, a reading man is a ready man. But a writing man is exact. And to say that there's writing, which is not just reiterating other people's ideas, but actually articulating your own ideas. That is even bigger than reading. A lot of people do not read. A lot of people can't read. But that's another thing. And then if you look at the Carlos A. Cooks reader, for those of you who didn't get that, try if actually find it in this link over here, right? Right in the Discord and all that. But Carlos A. Cooks was like, he also noticed. So like this white boy was saying, 1 out of 1 million people could think. Carlos A. Cooks, if you look at this book, he is saying early in the introduction, so that's a really important introduction. He says, you know what? I realize that only 1 in 1,000 people can think. Okay? Only 1 in 1,000 people can think. So now if you're engaging people with the assumption that they are going to be thinking about ideas, right? Instead of people, right? Instead of real names, right? Then you got a problem. So it's like, the South African, you could say, hey man, de Klerk said this and de Klerk said that and de Klerk said that, and he'll understand that. Whereas if you say, hey, white people did this, white people did that, you're not being as clear. If you say white racism this, white racism that, you're being even less clear. He's going to be like, yeah, well, I don't know about white racism because my boss is white. You know? You got to realize you're dealing with people. So people want drama. Just know that. Tyler Solomon's telling us immigration customs enforcement, that's ICE. People make the world go round, right? Tickum says we in here, RBG, all right. Tyler tells us we have to focus on people that is leveraging power. Yeah. Kofi says truth, white folk are about that support life. They're about that support life. And the thing is this, the support life, I want to point this out too. I think it was John and Bruce who said that, you see the difference. You see when you hear me, I'm like, hey, look, I know who said this before. That's what reading does. You know, and this is like from a decade ago. Now, I did write down a lot of these resources in the Pro-Black Compendium, right? That was like that's my second book, right? But you can also check it out in the Book of Power sometimes, right? But Pro-Black Compendium has a lot of these quotes, and I used to study these quotes. Okay, I used to study these quotes every week so that we could be sharp in our knowledge of what our ancestors were sharing. But yeah, white folk about that support life. What Jonathan Bruce is telling you, right, is that that's what the white man has over the black man. That he has mutual cooperation. He is cooperatives. They cooperate with each other. They support each other. Even if you a dumbass little white boy who's gonna write jokes for adventure modules, he got you. You know, I'll tell you, the most money I ever saw somebody earning who wasn't like, you know, really doing anything productive per se, is this dude, this white boy. I'm telling you, he makes adult video games, okay, like cartoonish. It really, apparently they're like, you know, really, you know, like every sort of fetish in a sense, right? Kind of sick. This white boy, he's on Patreon, so you know how much money he makes, okay? He's on Patreon. Dude is pulling in $40,000 a month. Okay? Now some of you might be like, oh, that's nothing. You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, $40,000 a month, that's nothing. The dude's making adult games. Free adult games, free cartoon adult games. And these white boys are like, hey, you know what? I want my cartoon fix. And he don't even update the game so often, right? And the game is free, okay? And people still saying, look, I want to support this thing. See, if I give out something free, people say, okay, I don't got to give you shit. If you black and you giving out something for free, they say, I don't have to give you shit. White boy says, oh, you giving this out for free? Okay, I got to give you something. You know what I'm saying? You leaving with something. There's a difference in the mentality, and because of that, right? Now this white boy can follow his dream, and he could produce something for you. Whereas the rest of us is like, you know what, man? You know, don't even need to. Like, does it matter? Like, I wasn't here last week. Did it matter? You know what I'm saying? Did it matter? You know. All right. So Tyler Solomon says, my personal opinion, but black people here in the USA need a collective program, a code. Without that, we will be speaking in circles of perpetuity. Yeah, I mean, look, I realize that we are, in America, we're in a circle. We are on a, like I said on Twitter, everybody has a road. There's a road for everybody in a sense, right? Or everybody has a road. Everybody's walking on some sort of path. But collectively, we in America, we're walking in a circular path. You know, Marcus Garvey was talking about grifters. He was talking about people who were saying nothing and doing nothing. Or saying a lot and doing nothing. What's his name? Carter G. Woodson was talking about, hey, you know what our people need is workers, not speakers. Right? You know, there's people who are speaking, you know, who blah, blah. He says, look, if the Negro wanted to, like I'm telling you, that I should just go over I had this other link. It's called the Collected Quotes. I used to, this sister one time when I was younger. The reason why I like Proverbs and, well, not Proverbs, but, you know, quotes and quotations or whatever, is because this elder here in America, she gave me a book of, African American quotes. Okay? And I learned a lot. You know, you learn a lot of what our people said in the past. And you know, you get to use that to our advantage. Let me see if I can actually find it. I'll just read this guy's quote this time. Since FBA ADOS out here proudly proclaiming themselves snitches and informants, these same people will be squealing on runaway slaves. Yeah, obviously. Let me see if I can find the collected. So if you don't know, yeah, so I have this website And Carter G. Woodson, this is like one of my... I try to put this in my books when I can. So you can just look for Carter G. Woodson. There's a lot of... And Carter G. Woodson has a lot of good quotes in his book. Like, if you want, you can pause this. But let's say this. This is the one I want to define you. It says, if the Negro could abandon the idea of leadership and instead stimulate a large number of the race to take up definite tasks and sacrifice their time and energy in doing these things efficiently, the race might accomplish something. The race needs workers, not leaders. Such workers will solve the problem which race leaders talk about and raise money to enable them to talk more and more about. When you hear a man talking, then always inquire as to what he is doing or what he has done for humanity. Oratory and resolutions do not avail much. If they did, the Negro race would be in a paradise on earth. It may be well to repeat here the saying that old men talk of what they have done, young men of what they are doing, and fools of what they expect to do. Okay? The Negro race has a rather large share of the last mentioned class. And not just that. Fools of what they expect to do. Not just that. Fools of what they expect others to do. You know what I mean? That's partly why I don't even like... I mean, I know you saying, hey, Oni, aren't you talking right now? Right? And I mean, I could tell you that I wrote books, you know, which you could also tell me, hey, and then also talking... and, you know, I might be like, shit, I mean, I guess. But that's why I try not to talk too much. You know? I engage you once a week because you need some engagement. You know? And the same elder I told you about who gave me that book in America, she said, don't leave people in total darkness. You know? So I know how people are in darkness, and I know that we getting a lot of misinformation and disinformation. So I can't necessarily leave you alone. Now, let me see if this Garvey quote is here actually. Just quickly to see if no. It's a reading man, a ready man, so on and so forth. Education, blah blah blah. No confidence in self. The white man has been surrendering. Yeah, I'm just gonna see if I can find this because it's I don't know if I kept it here. Where is this? I don't see it. All right, so it might not be here. Oh wait, let me see. Those who make this is interesting critique. But like I said, this is just an interesting page you could always look into. Yeah, all right. So I don't think I have it, but this is an interesting page. But one of these pages, he tells you that about the grifters. He says, hey, you know, one of the problems with Negro leadership is that we got grifters, and that's fine. That's what we have, and we're gonna have to just get used to it. Let me just go through the comments then again, just to finish it, so we can go back to the thing. Says he's got the grift game on lock. Yeah, these people got a grift game. Learning Curve says, and Learning Curve, make sure you guys check out the Learning Curve. Forgot to mention that earlier, but make sure you check out Learning Curve. Our great thinkers die poor. We should pay them instead of begging our adversaries for the things that we need. Yeah, I saw Dr. Ben. I met Dr. Ben. I was all giddy. He couldn't even recognize me. Right? He was left alone. He was left alone to die in a nursing home. You know? I mean that's what it is. You might say to yourself, well, yeah, if you have all the smarts of Dr. Ben, and Dr. Ben was a really good reader. If you have all the smarts of Dr. Ben, right? Why would you use it on black folk? You know? When these same black folk are going to be like, hey, you know, I just spent, I don't know how much money on shoes. Like, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you the story about the shoes thing, okay? There was this sister I was dating. I'll tell you guys I dated this sister who, whatever, right? She would boast about how her son had a big, substantial shoe collection. And meanwhile, she's begging me for money, right? To the point where, at one point, you have to be like, all right, look, hold up, right? And she ended up in all, because you're like, maybe she's just, maybe she's not really, maybe she don't really need money. Maybe she just, she's just asking because, OPM is the best type of money. Other people's money is the best type of money. No! She ended up in a homeless shelter for several months. But her son had a good shoe collection. She had some nice looking furniture on layaway. You understand? But here's the thing. Dr. Ben will be like, hey, look. Michael Zara will be like, hey, look, I'll teach you how to organize your pockets. And you're like, nah, I ain't trying to hear that. I'm trying to get my son some shoes, right? And here's this: the same person who knows about financial whatever can go to a white person and be like, hey, I'll teach you some finances. The guy says, oh, whoa, you teaching, you spitting. Here's some money. And then when we turn around and we say, and then the same people are gonna be like, well, I don't like how he always giving white people good ideas. Why he don't come to black folk and get it? You understand? You understand? It's like I said, I feel like I kind of want to do video game streaming. I kind of want to do it. You know, play the game, make money while playing the game. You understand? Now, of course, that's not even that bad a thing to do, real talk. But that's like, you understand that there are, you know, everybody's controlled by the economy. I don't know if you guys picked up on that. I actually linked. I showed you guys Malcolm X's kind of last moments, right? And how as he was getting pressured by the Nation of Islam to vacate his house, right? As he was getting pressured, his focus on his organization started dwindling. And he started taking up any sort of job he could to get some money. Because he had a family at home. You know, economy is really, really important. It's one of the main drivers of human beings. You know? You know, one of the reasons why you wake up in the morning at 7 a.m. is because somebody said, hey, look, so some white person, for the most part, said, I could pay you when you wake up. If you get up at this time and you show up at this time, I'll give you some money. You understand? And as long as that's a white person doing that, right? He got 8 hours, 10 hours of your life every day. He got half of your life every day. Right? If you spend any time dreaming on him, he has half of your life every day. Every work day. And then you resting. And here's the thing. You then dating other people and you wondering if they have that same situation. And if they do have that same situation where you giving half of your life to a white man, right? Then they actually good to you. I'm telling you. All right. So, yeah. So, Kofi says another point to add is that Carlos inspired Kwame Brathwaite. Yeah, Kwame Brathwaite. Black is Beautiful. You know, he did the first Black is Beautiful stuff, right? Tyler Solomon says, I'm a free thinker. I'm an independent thinker. I'm a critical thinker. The average American has a problem with comprehending the written word plus what they experience. Yeah, the average American is... shit, you know, I'm talking about white Americans, they weird. Like I told you, man, I mean, shit, like, first off, why this guy making so much money making adult games? Like, y'all are sick of that. This is a weird game. Like, this is a weird game. I mean, I'm not saying whatever. Anyway. Like, you have to look into it. You got to read into it. You're like, damn, this is weird. Derek says reparations now. I don't know if y'all gonna get it. But see, reparations now, that's an interesting concept. Reparations is people are looking for... Now, there's two parts of this. ABA does this as a Trojan horse, you know? They want you to be supportive of this idea and so on and so forth. But you also see the economy driver there. If you telling people, hey, look, if we agitate well enough, we can get, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars. Right? And you really make people believe that their agitation will lead to some sort of economic salvation, you got it. Like, let's be real. You talking about Pan-Africanism? And you say, okay, look, if you agitate for Pan-Africanism, however you're going to agitate for it, whatever you're going to do, how are you going to benefit? Personally. How do you personally benefit? You understand? Especially if you in the... And that's a thing that was one of the things that drove the ABA movement, was that they were saying, okay, well, what are the tangibles? Or what is it that I will personally benefit from? Now, a lot of us would give them abstract ideas. We'd say, oh, well, you know, if Africa is strong, then the black Americans will be strong. You know? And it's like, yeah, that might be true, but it just doesn't even make any sense. You're talking to people who are functionally illiterate. You know? This some white people got some quote where they say the person who can read books is no different, but who doesn't is no different than the person who can't read books. You understand? If you don't read books, you might as well like your function like on an intellectual standpoint or on an informational standpoint, you have the same knowledge base as the person who doesn't read. So if the person who can't read, right? If the person who can't read if you consider them illiterate and all the negative things are associated with it, associated with illiteracy, right? Then the person who doesn't read, it's the same negative connotation. And so you go to the same person and you say, hey man, well, if we unite the continent, that's really divided, right? If we unite to this continent, then you'll be benefited. So you're doing all this math. Whereas the other people come along and say, hey man, look, if we agitate enough, we can get the president to say that they want to give us $1 million. And it's stupid. It doesn't make any sense. It's not really going to happen. The politicians themselves are saying that's not going to happen. But again, you're going to people who are not thinking. So don't be thoughtful. Like, you don't have to be thoughtful. You don't have to give out thoughtful ideas all the time. You can be thoughtful. Like I'm thoughtful in my books, but let's be real. Right? Organic African Paradigm says meritocracy. I'm going to try to be a little quicker because I know y'all comments are coming quick. Learning Curve says relationship is economy. Right? Tyler Solomon says, damn, working with some good folks now, building a cooperative. We have one business up and running, working on the next ones. This is Tyler. This is him. All right? See what I'm saying? Like, these are the differences. Right? This is the difference between, see, I have this list of the 4 types of black folk, and I left this thing on the screen too long. I know I left it so that you guys can see the other Marcus Garvey quote in case you could multitask. But I give you these 6 topics. But I think it was John L. Bruce again who had 4 topics where he was like, there are men who are who are always going to run and tell the white man everything, and you're going to see that in the 4th ABA. But then it also says, there are those brave, real African men. That's y'all in the comments. African men and women. That's y'all in the comments. But you got to realize that you are a grade above. I want y'all to realize that y'all are a grade above. Like I said, Tyler Solomon pointed out. He said, look, working with some good people, making cooperatives, started a business, working on another one. Right? And I mean, it's for all of us. All of us got something going on. Right? Or we working on getting something done. Like I said, old people say what they have done. Young people, what they're going to do. Right? What they're doing. Sorry, what they're doing. And then, the fools are like what they expect to do. But anyway, Learning Curve says miscegenation may have been one of Carnegie's theories for economic uplift. Miscegenation as a tool. I don't remember that, but I mean, maybe. I don't remember. Learning Curve says, ultimately, only consciousness matters. Kingdoms grow large through relationships. Marriage is the answer, traditional and otherwise. It is the only state contract we need. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you gotta get your relationships on point. I mean, here's the thing about relationships. Everything you do with other people are relationships. Business is a relationship, right? Fighting, warfare is a relationship, right? Intimacy is a relationship. Everything you do with other people is a relationship. Like, obviously, social, right? Now, you have to know how to work your relationships. And I'm not trying to, I know Elijah Muhammad said something along those lines about, that's the one thing. Elijah Muhammad said, the white man will not teach us 3 things. That was military science, mating, and business. But like I said, all it really is relationships. And I mean, I did tell you guys, I tell you, I wrote the Pro-Black Compendium, and I gave you 20 tips on how to improve your relationships. Okay? All 3 of those, whether it was the business, the so on and so forth, how to improve your relationships. But again, like I said, it's not a bestseller. It's not a hit. Now, if I'm not saying that I could, masquerade as an ADOS person, but what I could tell you is that, there is an ADOS person who's writing books. There are a lot of ADOS people writing books that are like, hey, the 5 ways we gonna get reparations by 2020. You understand? The 5, and they're selling out. Right? Or you could say, the 10 things wrong with, Cornel West. Oh, no, they like Cornel West. But, point is, something to do with people. They'll do that. They'll sell out. But meanwhile, the thing that you want to know about relationships, I could write it out. Spell it out for you. I even have it for free on this website. You ain't looking at it. Like, it don't matter. Organic Gary Bradham says, can you post that Marcus Garvey quote later on Twitter? Well, which quote in particular, though? Which quote? I can't remember what was the quote. But I'll look into it later, I guess. Let me see. Is it this one? Wait, no, I don't think did I read a Marcus Garvey quote? The one on power? All right, let me know which one. All right, so anyway, we're going to go to the next one, though. We only have 6 of them, so hopefully they'll be a little quicker. I just wanted to answer the questions because, let's see if this is, no, let me see. Copy, maybe this could work. Yeah, okay, good. I got to make sure people don't block me while I'm trying to send this stuff up. So this is somebody else. He says, this is Trini Hotep. Now, he's not the traitor. He's talking to somebody who's the enemy within, right? So Trini Hotep says, this is why in 2022, I'm no longer having these kind of debates. Y'all can have it. I'm just blocking people from now on. Disrespect is just on another level. Yeah, this is how you're supposed to do it. This is how we've been supposed to do it. You're supposed to be blocking these people, not hey, I got 20,000. Because this is the thing you got to realize about celebrities, too. Celebrities, they block you if they can't use you. If you have, 20 followers and they have 20 million followers and you try to engage them, they say, look, you just engaging me because you want to use me as leverage. You're not going to use me as leverage. So you blocked. Right? What we do is that we see this movement coming up with a bunch of bots and so on and so forth, 40 followers, 50 followers, 100 followers, 200 followers, right? And we on our bigger platforms, some people got 30,000 followers, some people got 18,000 followers, whatever, right? We there promoting it. We there, oh yeah, let me engage you. You using me as leverage, I got you. Here you go. Here's that booster. And then, now you have this. So anyway, so this brother, these two people coming to each other. I actually don't know if Danny's a guy or girl, but she says, you're Trini, not black. And he's like, are you dumb? I am black. My nationality is Trinidadian, right? You're not black. You're Afro-Trini, right? He's like, you don't own the race black. Now, of course, they both have background, but that's what I'm saying. You also got to look into people that just, whatever. But anyway, yes, Afro-Trinidadians, are you dumb? Black isn't a jacket you can put on when it's convenient. It's our race. What's your race? I am black, fool, like I get called all types of N-word, too. Are you dumb, goofy? You're not black, but that's the bullshit. Y'all wasn't black 20 years ago. Right, because only you is black, right? But now that black is cool now, right? Now, anyway, dumb conversation, obviously. But, just add it to the list of the enemies within. Like the 20 years ago, I'm pretty sure people were black 20 years ago. It's kind of remarkable that that's even a thing, but they're spreading. And this is the mentality, and it's like, I'll be honest with you, this is not new, The sister that I told you that was like homeless and all that kind of stuff, that eventually became homeless, we went on a date one time, and I was like, hey, let's go to this black-owned restaurant, right? And we went there, we ate there, and then, later on, whatever. Later on, I tell her, oh yeah, remember we went to that black-owned restaurant? She goes, that wasn't a black-owned restaurant, that was Caribbean. Like it basically was a Jamaican spot. And she was like, that's not a black-owned restaurant, that's Caribbean. So this sort of division, and I also noticed this again another time when I was in Bed-Stuy, and it's Jamaican and like these Caribbeans were arguing with like some continental Africans, right? And then the African Americans were like, oh, yeah, like something like, well, some of them were saying, yeah, they're like, those people are not black, they're African or something like that, right? And And, you know, kind of like not everybody was agreeing with them. You know, there were some people walking by like, yeah, that's some old nonsense. But, you know, that's a thing. You know? In fact, I'll tell you this. Kofi, shout out to Kofi. He was on, he's on my Discord, right? And he gave me he showed a link of Nation of Islam teachings. Okay? So I'm actually, I feel like I want to pull that up, you know, just temporarily to show you guys that this is really, really, really like old and embedded and, you know, kind of like it's fringe. It was fringe, but we kind of made it mainstream. Just like you see this Trinidadian guy call the other guy, he said, look, I call all sorts of N-word, right? Like N-word, like calling people each other N-word was like popular in the 1930s, but it was like poor folk and it was fringe, you know? It was very fringe. So what happens is that, you know, it became mainstream through hip hop and all that kind of stuff to the point where some dude in Trinidad is going to say, yeah, blah blah blah. But that's really, you know, like it's really on us. I mean the whole, yeah, it's really us being used against us. You know? And we keep falling for it. Now I can't remember what channel Kofi put it in, so I might take a while to find it. But basically, in the document that he listed, let me see if I could. My computer acting up. All right. In the document that he listed, you know, the Nation of Islam is going on about actually Black Americans are the indigenous people. You know, the indigenous people of America. You know, which is kind of different from what I'm saying, but I'm telling you, this is something that we go on about. What's it say? Learning Curve says we've been black for thousands of years. Yeah, we've been black for several thousand years. Yeah, definitely. Now let me. And actually, I got tagged on one of these ADOS rooms, and the guy was like, "Yeah, you know, oh, you know, like they were going on about how they were Native Americans, and this dude was selling, you know, classes on how people are Native American, and there was one person who was like authority there, I guess, because this guy comes in, black guy comes in, and says, "Hey, I know you guys could find out where my tribe is." By using my last name. So, and then he just lists out his last names. He's like, I come from a Cummings and a Flanders and a so on and so forth. And then the resident, you know, scholar, I guess, is like, Flanders? Why, that sounds like a Creek name, right? Your people may be Creek, right? But DM me separately and I could probably give you more information. Now, here's the issue. Fletcher is like I said, I play video games. Like back when I was younger, I played video games, and Fletcher was one of the words for like an archer, you know, like somebody who had a bow, like a hunter, so on and so forth. And it's a European hunter, right? It's a hunter in Europe who was, you know, like, you know, maybe, I don't know, hunting like small animals or something like that, right? And it's a Scottish name, but because this guy is so ignorant, right, and because he's lost. And he's looking for some sort of solution, right? This woman could come along and say, hey, come DM me privately. And look, I don't usually do this free. You understand? And she gets $20, and this guy gets, or maybe even more than $20, maybe $100, who knows? And this guy gets to put on his little thing to go to his little powwow. And I'm telling you, look, I had an elder. I told you guys this. I had an elder the same elder who gave me that African American quotes book, right? Who would invite me to powwows. She would say, I'm going to go to a powwow because I'm part Native. And even when this Brooklyn Museum had a Native American exhibit, she walks up to one of the statues or one of the paintings and, you know, does a whole, you know, honor my ancestor kind of thing. I'm telling you, this is not a new phenomenon, right? Nation of Islam was big on it. Organizations after there was a lot of confusion in the West. A lot. And it's not new, But what happens is that we are engaging it, and we are spreading it, and we are trying to appease it in a sense. You know, I had my you know, every Friday the KWZ Radio Network, we do a spaces. We had a space, and you know, some people on the space was like, let's do appeasing. Let's find some rationality behind what they're saying. And it's like, if you paid attention in history, World War II, the British were all about appeasing the Germans. Anyway, I mean, it's literally the whole point of that lesson is to learn not to appease hate groups. Leonard Curse says, money, it's all about money. They are on the grift trying to inspire people to pay them by being intriguing. Exactly, it's all about money. So anyway, this is now not everything is ABA, and of course, like I told you, there's only 4 of them. But let's say, this is the Mitch Please thing. So this is straight up just the regular ass Americans, not even whatever. But this is it. I am Mitch Please. I serve this country. I pay state taxes. I'm professionally bonded. I volunteer serving my community. I'm black and I'm American. Mitch Please. Hashtag Mitch Please. So there's hashtag Mitch Please and hashtag I am American. This is a vast number. Like this, ADOS got nothing on this. If you talk about a really big movement, this is what it is. This guy's not ADOS. He's just a black American. Okay? And so, hashtag Mitch Please, hashtag I am American. These are just responses to white America, and basically what Mitch McConnell says. Mitch McConnell's a politician in America, and he's being confronted about Voting Rights Act. And he's saying to himself, hey, why do we need this Voting Rights Act if African Americans vote on the same level as Americans, right? And so now black people are saying, hey, wait a second, if like aren't we also American, right? But and you know, it's whatever, but there's a large, now I didn't show you the hashtag, so you can click on the hashtag yourself, or you can click on the I am American hashtag, right? Because a lot of times when you look at these hashtags, a lot of weird shit pops up, you know, and I don't want to scroll through and, you know, get, you know, all sorts of stuff for that. So you just look at it on your own. But yeah, this is it. This is it. Hashtag Mitch Please, hashtag I am American. You already know. Those are the other enemies within. You really gotta, like, it's vast. Now this is a recent ad. I just decided to add this. I didn't know who to credit with this one. I wanted to say this is the Pan-Africanist. But basically, this dude in Africa kind of writes an article based off of the group, the chat. And so I'm going to give this to ABA. But basically, this is bad. This is bad. All right? So he says, earlier today, Twitter, some black Americans seemingly warned Africans to stop immigrating to their country, right? It was arguably one of the most heated debates on Twitter in recent times, and throughout the long hours it lasted, this thing lasted for 12 hours, right? 20,000 people joined. Now, if you know about Twitter, that's not really a lot. That's not really so on and so forth, but it had a global impact because there was a lot of conversation around it, and people were picking up on it. And the one thing that they picked up on was, you know what? Black Americans don't like us, and it's not a reality. Now, I told you guys about Harsh Reality Podcast. Make sure you guys check him out too. But he was pointing out only 7% of people even have Twitter accounts, right? That, you know, 93% of people don't. And so this is a fringe group on a fringe group. But now you go to Business Insider, right? This is like when you go run tell the white man. You go on Business Insider, and you know this is a guy who's focused on business, experienced business reporter, and all that kind of stuff. And instead of doing that, this dude, he's from Africa, I guess, is like, black Americans don't like us. Right? Black Americans do not like us. And so I would say, you know, this is a Pan-Africanist thing. I don't know what group to put this guy in, honestly. Right? You know, but I'm going to give this to ABA because what you're doing is that when you start to say, hey, look, I'm going to formulate a hate group to, advance some sort of agenda, if at all. But realistically speaking, you just want the money. And, again, at some point you got to say to yourself, people want money, they don't have capital. Okay? You want money, but you don't have capital. How are you going to get money but finding a way? Now, I know Organic African Paradigm, linked this Nigerian guy who was saying all sorts of, who was saying some stuff and, like, oh, well, we're going to sacrifice people, I guess, or do a ritual on a woman in order to get money, all that kind of stuff. And I couldn't agree with the dude, right, the Nigerian guy. But that's a good example of, that's a good example of how people operate. You do not provide an economy for our people. If you are not providing an economy for our people, right, but they still need to live, they still need to survive, they are going to do what the market tells them to do. Okay? They are going to do what is marketable. See, me personally, I could afford to not do what's marketable. Okay? I can afford to not do what's marketable. A lot of people cannot, though. And I mean, I'm starting to feel like, shit, I need to start doing some marketable stuff too. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just went out and made a puzzle book. Now, of course, the puzzle book don't got no sales. But I said, look, let me use my programming knowledge to put together a programming book for black people who are not going to buy it. I could do that. Now, another black man who can program better or worse, it don't matter. He said to himself, look, I'm not going to do that stupid shit. I'm going to program something for these white boys. Like I got this brother who knows how to draw really well, right? Black folk not going to pay him, and he knows this. So he's like, oh, shit. Do I got to draw for these white folk? It's Maria Carolina de Jesus, or Jesus, or whatever, right? She has a quote where she goes, actually, we are slaves to the cost of living. Okay? Actually, we are slaves to the cost of living. Look at a person. Find out what their cost of living is, and you'll know how they operate. Okay? You'll know how they operate. Most of us, 95% of us, 98% of us who are working for white folk. Because that's the cost of living. The cost of living is to serve the white man. That's your cost. That's what's enslaving you. The fact that you don't have an economy. So anyway, let's go with this. LGBT flag is a red flag. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. But, matter of fact, I forgot to leave that. I forgot to put them in the group of enemies. I should say Alphabet Squad. I got to put them down. But I try to stay away from that Twitter. You know what I'm saying? Learning Curve says, we have a marketing problem. Our networks need to be reinforced. Magazines are run, tell the white man. Yeah. Run, tell the white man. Right? Red Black Gentleman says, medieval mixing blurs the where you come from situation for black people. Every person on earth literally has 1,024 great grandparents. Where do each of those people come from 5 centuries ago? And then they had grandparents, great grandparents too, right? And they had great grandparents too. What? Yeah, I mean, where you come from? Look, it's people intuitively know. Right? That if they were going to be giving out reparations for enslavement in America, right? Which is something that they're not even planning on doing. Something that black Americans themselves shut down, right? But if they were doing that, right? Like, obviously, I wouldn't have my hand out for that. I can't say whether or not my ancestors were ever in America. I can't tell you that, but me personally, I wouldn't think along those lines anyway. You know, I would, like, because of something that's so morally, like, it'd be so morally reprehensible for me to be like, assuming I have no evidence, you know, to back it up, for me to say, oh, you're giving out reparations for slavery, then sure, let me get my hands out. Now, if you said you're giving out reparations for discrimination, I might be like, yeah, I felt discriminated against when I was younger. But if you were to say no, I wouldn't do that, and I don't know of too many people that would. I mean, besides some white folk, right? You know, $5 and so forth. But yeah, I don't know too many black people that would do that. But then to use that, but then to say, hey, look, we need to delineate, we need to differentiate, we need to, as if white people would have given out more money. You know? As if white people would have said, hey, Oni, here's some money for the enslavement of African people. Like, they wouldn't have done that. They're not trying to give out any money. So it's just a moot point. It's just a way to articulate again. It's the people thing, the people idea, the Eleanor Roosevelt thing. It's the people idea where now what they're doing is that they're making it seem like it's us versus them, and now they're saying you gotta support your own, or we're being suppressed and we're being attacked. This is a basic psychological tool, you know, for tribalism. And the Western world is really big on tribalism. But let's keep going. Real Black Gentleman says, our loss of hereditary systems makes it even harder to ascertain certain things. Yeah, I don't know why this heater is so damn loud. All right. Our loss of hereditary... Oh, I think Organic African Paradigm. I think that was... you sure it wasn't Carter G... Oh. Wait, was it the Reading Man, Ready Man? Or was it the Carter G. Woodson quote? About workers. Okay, yeah, maybe it was the Reader Writer, because that was about workers. All right. Our loss of hereditary systems makes it even harder to ascertain certain things, and it causes us to reach on straws on the non-black branches to the exclusion of predominant African branches. Yeah. Hereditary system. Yeah. I mean, we are in a particularly bad situation in the West, and we got to realize that we're in a bad situation because, again, we do not own any capital. We're not responsible for the economy. If the road is broke up, right? If the road is broken in the West, and I know I'm kind of loud right now, but if the road is broken, we have to call the white man to fix it. If there's lead in the water, we have to call the white man to fix it. If the traffic lights stop working, we got to call the white. When you're in that kind of situation, when you're completely dependent on this white boy, you got to do anything. I mean, basically, your people are lost. And as I was pointing out, with inflation going up, with a pandemic going around, right? People are looking for something. And that's why you have to give them something. You have to give them something. Because what happens is that if you don't give them something, people telling you, you're not giving us anything, are going to trend. Yeah, I didn't eat this. All right, whatever. Look. So Learning Curve says we are betrayed by our bellies instead of moving based on our intelligence and understanding. And that's the thing. Look, that's one thing I want to point out too. You know, the belly is very, very important. You know, we have to realize that there's two parts of us. Now, some people won't agree with me. They don't like how I say this, but there's the physical part of you, and that's primary. Then there's the metaphysical part of you, right? Now, that's not the best word for it, but there's the part of you that is based off of your physicality, but it's not necessarily that same physicality, right? But hunger, that is very, very critical. If you do nothing for a man's belly, he'll 9 times out of 10 do nothing for you. Okay? It takes a man to ignore his own stomach. Right? To ignore his stomach to do something for you. Why do you go to work for this white boy? Because he's feeding your belly. That's what he's doing. Coach says, bring back the Can a Black Nationalist Read and Keep a Straight Face series. Yeah, you know it. Real black gentleman says that 1 Indian, 2 centuries don't make a black woman native. No. 2 centuries ago, no. Like 200 years ago, no. We're going to get right up. Says something to do with readers and writers. I'll do that. Learning Curve says reparations are about blacks in the West being given a chance to fail and keeping their wealth when we succeed. Given a chance to fail and keeping their wealth. Yeah, look, we can make anything sound good. You know? But the thing with the reparations thing is this. That's the white boy giving the money. And at the end of the day, it's like, if the white man didn't want you to fail, he wouldn't have put you in the hood. You know? He wouldn't have gave you that public fool system. If he didn't want you to fail, he wouldn't be failing his own people. You know, Booker T. Washington said, if you keep a man in a ditch, then you'll be in the ditch along with him. When you hold a man in a ditch, you'll be in a ditch along with him. Booker T. Washington was from 150 years ago. So he's telling you, look, the white man's keeping himself down only to keep the black person down. You know, in Jamaica or in the Caribbean or whatever, in Jamaica, the quote would be, you cut your nose to spite your face. Right? But this white boy is keeping black people. Like the white man wants the black man to fail. He wants it to happen. So if you go to him and say, hey, look, can you help me to succeed in this country? It's a hell no. Jagan says it's no longer house versus the field. They both are working for their masters. It's now field versus the runaways. Yeah, I used to say maroons. But yeah, that's what I said. I never said I was a house or a field. Because if you either of them, you working for this white boy. You know, the maroons. The ones who go out and set up a community, an independent community, right? And build that independent community, and then they could work from that independent community to free the other people if they so need to, right? Or they can say, you know what, F it, cause you ain't freeing your damn self. You know. I tell you, I want to write this short story. I keep neglecting to. I need to read books. I'm just like I don't have the economic incentive to write this essay, but I'm telling you, I want to write a story about what it'd be like if we were on, like a revolutionary, if you were a revolutionary or whatever, on the moon, in a moon colony. Let's say you're on the moon for 1,000 years, right? You're on the moon with these white boys for 1,000 years, right? What you gonna do? I mean, sorry, you're on the moon for 1,000 years. You're a black person. You're the underclass on the moon for 1,000 years. Now, if you're on the moon, you have some pretty damn good access to technology, obviously. You know? You live on the moon, you got some pretty damn good access to technology. So you feeling yourself. And of course, after 1,000 years, you feel like you are a person of the moon. Now, maybe I just said Mars, right? You feel like you're a Martian, okay? You feel like you're a lunar person. You don't look at yourself as an African. You've been gone from Africa for 1,000 years. You don't look at yourself as an African. You look at yourself, if you were on the moon for 1,000 years or on Mars for 1,000 years, you feel like you participated in building the moon colony or the Mars colony. You understand? You can see the psychology if you look at it from that perspective. You can see the psychology. Are you a Martian? No. Are you a lunar entity? No. Were you an African? Yes. Or are you an African? Yes. But if you're there for 1,000 years and 1,000 years and you get all these kind of privileges and you know, finally the third black senator on the moon, right? You feel yourself. You know, I want to write this book. I want to write this story, but you know, I don't know if I will. You know, so I can just say it. I don't care. All right. So Jagan says, I now only claim black people that claim to be black, not you, but yes. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you mean you're not gonna claim me, but all right. No, I'm joking. I know what you said. But yeah, only claim black, like, because the thing is this, that you're going to find people. If you're 1,000 years on the moon, you're gonna say you're 1,000 years on Mars. You're gonna say you're a Martian. You're gonna say you're a Martian. It's as simple as that. There's gonna be some people who say they are Martians, and they're gonna be about the Mars colony. They're not gonna be about Africa. That don't make no sense. So this white boy can take you anywhere. And you're going to be about that white boy because he's going to have controlled you for how many years? That's all it is. And he's never going to pay you. Here, when white boy makes a Mars colony, he brings you over to Mars. He forces you to work for him for 1,000. You know, after 1,000 years, you finally get to sit on a big seat or whatever. He's not gonna pay you. He don't want you to succeed. He didn't go to Mars to make you succeed. He didn't come to America to make you succeed. He came to America to kill off the people you claim to be. You claim to be the American Indian. He killed them off. This man operates on violence. He operates on violence. Anyway. And I mean, and that's not even bad for him. So look, the Manginas didn't do anything this week. The past me, so this is like different from the pygmies. So the comrades, what the comrades say? Oh, the triple burger for an hour. All right, so this is the comrades. So the comrades are obviously the communists. They're a whole nother group of internal enemies. This is going to be some dumb thing that one of them said. All right, so basically somebody started off and said, this was already dumb. It's cool how the government told us raising the minimum wage would make a burger be $20, and now a burger is $20. But minimum wage is the same. Now again, remember this. You have to remember this, right? This white man did not establish America for you. He did not establish America for you or even his own underclass. When you go to another place, like if you, and this is what you got to understand about settlements. When you go settle on another land, you do that for yourself. You do that for you, the settlers, the colonizers. The people of Israel do not go to Israel to help out the Palestinian people. They don't go there to bring up the status of the Palestinian people. Now, if you are a Palestinian person who says, hey, look, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with you coming here and doing so forth. Let me just be in the corner. Then they're fine with you. But realistically speaking, the people they set it up for are their people. You understand? And who their people are kind of differs and diverges and all that kind of stuff. But it's really, everything is set up for the upper class. That's something that we don't really understand. You know? This is why I wrote the Book of Power. Because I said to myself, hey, look, you got to understand that everything is set up for the upper class. Okay? So, yeah, they're not going to, whether they raise the minimum wage or not, it doesn't really matter. Who are you? Like, who are you? Who is this person? First Mate Prance. Who is that? Why would white boy, Mitch McConnell, for instance, who don't even think you American. Now, I'm going to say he don't think you're American, but still, why would he care about how much you're spending on burgers? He doesn't care. He doesn't care. There's this white lady, in fact. I can't remember her name. She's like a queen in, I think, France. Oh, Marie Antoinette. So this is a famous quote in France, right? Where it's called "Let them eat cake." Okay? And so the poor French are complaining about the price of bread. They're saying, oh, we can't afford bread. Bread is too expensive. This is before the French Revolution, right? And then, so because they can't afford bread, the queen of their country says, well, if they can't afford bread, let them eat cake. Don't buy bread, buy cake. She don't care. Now, of course, that caused a revolution. Well, it didn't cause a revolution, but they chopped her head off. But but they don't care. I pointed it out this. In fact, I think I have it on this. I don't even know why I closed this collected quotations. But there's this guy. What's his name? Metternich. So, like I said, there's this is a quote down from Metternich. So, John Henry Bruce pointed out what Metternich said. If you ever get John Henry Bruce's book, check it out. Right? He says, "Gentlemen, behold the true philosophy of society. Gentlemen in the palace, serfs in the field, and an impassable barrier between." Metternich's not talking about white folk. I'm sorry, he's not talking about black folk. Metternich don't got nothing to do with black folk, in fact. Let me see what year he was. Just to... this is him, Count Metternich. I think it's Count Metternich right here. Metternich. He's 1773 to 1859. Right, so there were black people at this point, and there were black people in the West at this point. But he's in Austria, okay? He's in Austria, not really like a heavy black population. And I wonder if this is actually him. Let me see if they might. Let's see, G-E-N-T. Okay, so they don't have his quote on here, but this might be him. I'm not too sure. I'm not 100% sure because I don't know the Metternich family like that. But more than likely it's him, right? He's like, look, I'm telling you in Austria that the true philosophy of society is to have the elite in one area, the commoners in another, and the commoners can't come among us. Okay? We have the wealth at one place, right? And we have the workers or the labor in another, right? That's what he says. The true philosophy of Western society is to divide the upper class and the lower class completely and let the one side suffer while another one thrives. And then here you are saying, hey, we're suffering. Don't you find a problem? Don't you have a problem with us suffering? No! If you suffering, they doing a good job. This is the Western way. Okay, this is the Western way. Now, this is not necessarily the African way, right? If you want to know about the African way, like I said, you pick up the Book of Power. But I mean, I'll also probably tell you. But notwithstanding, what I'm saying is that this is how the Western are organized. Now, if you in the West and you complain about the West, I have news for you. That's what, like that's music to their ears. It's music to their ears. You know? Music to their when you say, oh man, you know, my family died of, so that's music to their ears. In fact, I'll remind you guys about this, the conservatives. When COVID first came out, conservatives were like, oh, everybody was like, yeah, you know, let's try not to get this thing or whatever, right? You know, this is an epidemic, this is a pandemic, so on and so forth, right? When news came that black Americans were catching COVID more than white Americans, conservatives started saying, you know what? Why don't we just let this thing happen? Now, I mean, obviously that's a little bit on the conspiracy theory side. Obviously, you could see the narrative, maybe disagree or whatever. But what I'm telling you is that, yeah, man, nobody cares about your suffering. Nobody does. So the fact that it takes multiple hours to work to afford a burger makes me feel feral, right? Now, white people and they feral stuff. This is a cat lady. What fast food has $20 burgers? Please, I need to know what's happening. Because I decided to look at this thread because I was like, what are they talking about? So it says Cali, average meal for a burger is $10 plus. Hell, even a bottle of water is $2. Now remember, this is the people who do not. These are people that do not make burgers, don't sell burgers, do not bottle water, do not have access to water. This is just the serfs. Okay? Now they're complaining about the price of bottling and selling water as if they were somehow influential in it. And of course, the same burger could be like a burger that requires a lot of labor, or a burger that requires a lot of rare ingredients, right? So anyway, it says, so then this white person says, hey, that's why the minimum wage was $15, right? So this person says, still doesn't justify the horrendous price. Plus, places with 25 or less employees still pay $14. That's an hour of work for one meal. Ridiculous. Now here's this right here. It says an hour of work for one meal from a restaurant is ridiculous. Seriously? Nobody's making you eat out for every meal, right? And this is white point. That's the point. Okay? He's like, you know, because that's the thing that we don't really even get. And this is the thing you got to understand with the comrades. They don't even get pricing. You know? That's to say that how much time should you spend to eat out in a restaurant? You know? And what is it worth for other people to feed you? You know? To feed you in a restaurant. What does it cost them? How much should they be paid? You know, it really comes back to, like I said, supply and demand. You know, market economy. You know, will people pay $15 for this burger? And should I sell it at that price? And if they're buying it, then that's what they're gonna sell it for. You know, there was this one black man. He did this work of art, his painting, and he was trying to sell it for $1,500. Everybody came in and said, "Hey, you selling it for too cheap." Nobody bought it. They said, "No, you should sell it for $10,000. You should sell it for $3,000. You should sell it for so. Nobody bought it. You gotta go according to the market, and the market is not people saying what they think prices should be. The market is what people are paying, what people are buying, how people are buying it for. You know how much a pair of Jordans cost, right? A pair of sneakers cost. It costs $2,000. Why does it cost $2,000? Because that's how much people are buying it for. How much does a PS5 cost? It can cost $600. Why does it cost $600? Because that's what people are buying it for. That's what supply and demand means. So somebody says it's not ridiculous that someone would work for an entire hour, as if they're even doing anything for this hour. Will someone work an entire hour to be able to afford one meal from a restaurant? I'm confused here. Even if you weren't eating at a restaurant, $15 can barely get you a home-cooked meal with packs of chicken running close to $10. Like, these are people, like, I don't even know how old this person is, but basically what I'm saying is this. This is your comrades. They're not going to do anything for us as a people. These are the other enemies within. They don't have any logic. They don't have any reasoning. They say, hey, look, you spent $10 on a pack of chicken, which could feed maybe 4 people, right? And you made $15. Doing what? You know, maybe sweeping the floor or something, right? You sweeping the floor, you made $15. You got to realize how the economy really works, how it really works, and then you're going to realize where we have so many problems. Because again, you're in these white boys' economy. You're in this white boys' economy, and you come from a people who haven't, who the white man had no intention of paying to begin with. Just pointing that out in this moment. Let's see if anything else is going on. So Afro Jam says that Martian analogy was good. Yeah, I wanna actually do it. I wanna actually write the story, but I can't. I don't know what to do. All right. Northern Cove says solar clothes and peacemakers and surveyors are not your friend. Yeah, settlers are not. They're not going anywhere to be your friend. Settlers are going and you gotta think of it this way. All right. Let's say reason why somebody would go to Mars, if somebody were to settle on Mars, it would be because Mars has minerals that they can send back to Earth. You understand? It's because they have minerals that they could send back to Earth. That's why you would go to Mars. You're not. Or you could survive on Mars and you can't survive on the Earth. But there has to be something there, and it has to be something that can. Usually, it's something economically driven in the sense that you would go to Mars to send resources back to Earth, particularly wherever you came from on Earth. All right. You're not going there to help out Martians. You're not going there to help out the people you bring for labor. You have an arrangement with the people for labor, but ultimately your whole goal is to benefit your mother country, right? The white man does not go to. He never went to Africa, or he didn't come to America to benefit the American Indians. Okay. He didn't go to America for that. He went to America because part of it was that America had huge silver reserves. America had huge amounts of fertile land. America had huge amounts of gold. And so what happens is that in Europe, they like silver, they like food, they like gold. So he comes to America, sets up a system, sets up an infrastructure to send silver, gold, and food to Europe. That's it. Right? That silver, food, and gold, right? It's not for the natives. You understand? And that's why I tell you guys, I'm trying to read this Wealth of Nations. I stopped reading it. I'm not going to hold y'all. I did stop reading it. I got to go back to reading it. But he even points out, he's like, look, when the first quote unquote explorers, in a sense, right, went to America, right, they saw these natives walking around with gold on them and silver on them, and they said, hey, look, because the thing that the West had, the thing that Europe had, is that Europe produced a lot of food. So they said, hey, look, we can give you a lot of food for the silver and the gold. And the natives said, what? You're giving out a bunch of silver and you're going to give out a bunch of food for these rocks? For these little metals? Sure. And that effed them over. Okay? Kofi says the let them eat cake quote is fake. It's fake history passed down by whites. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I couldn't say one way or another. So after 1,000 years, you wouldn't be African. David says after 1,000 years, you wouldn't be African anymore just by genetics alone. Average African Americans are 20% European, and that's only after 250 to 400 years ago. So maybe they don't write that short story. Well, would you not be? No, I mean you still be African. Like you don't necessarily. It depends on if you're mixing with another people, but like yeah, after 1,000 years, you still be African. If like because otherwise we wouldn't like. Otherwise, people in Africa wouldn't be African. You know what I mean? Like as long as you're not mixing with another species or another race, you would still be African. What happened with African Americans is that they were like a lot of times they were sexually assaulted by the enslaver. So that would mess up their gene pool. But if you're the way how it would work is that you would still be African after 1,000 years. Because otherwise it was just like it just wouldn't make any sense. Now what could happen is that you could develop a different phenotype, but that wouldn't necessarily mean that you weren't any longer African. It just mean that you're a phenotype that was derived from Africans entirely. Now, of course, like I said, if you were mixing with the other people, then that could contribute to the mixture. But yeah. I mean, the time span does not like change whether you're African. Now, here's where it's a little complicated, right? You could say the way how that becomes complicated is that you could say one of two things, right? That wouldn't that make Europeans and other groups also African, right? And it really depends on what you're going by, right? Because what happened with Europeans is that they actually did, like a lot of the other groups outside of Africa did mix with other species. Okay? So they did mix with Neanderthals and so on and so forth. So that happened. Now, that's not to say that you can't also naturally change your complexion and so on and so forth. But that's why a lot of the human species is climate, like essentially climate would have an impact, as well as another thing to remember is that what happened back then was that the population was smaller, right? And because the population was smaller, certain genetic variations could proliferate much more, right? What would happen if for instance, it would really depend on how many people went to the moon or Mars, at the time. You know what I mean? Like how many people went to moon or Mars. So like you could have like, let's say 1,000 African people, right? Who go to Mars. And then after 1,000 years, they could be like 1 billion people. You understand? And if they only made it among themselves, they would be like if they only made it among those 1,000 black people, they would still be African people. They would just be 1 billion of them. You get what I'm saying? And it's not to say that they would be a different race per se. It would just be that. But now, could you differentiate them from like it'd just be like a different tribe in a sense? So that's actually what you would see with the Chinese. So the Chinese are they Asian? They're Asian still, obviously. But for like 1,000 or 2,000 sort of years, they were genetically isolated, and they did form like 1 billion people. And like for me, like sometimes you could look at them and say, hey, maybe that one and this one look alike, right? But the Han people, like they're still Asians. They're not necessarily not Asians. They may look different from the Japanese or the Koreans, or particularly they may look different from the Indians. But yeah, they're Asians. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say that 1,000 like I don't think that that would make the difference. Now I could say, I wouldn't say they wouldn't be Africans anymore. I would say but that's the thing. I also would understand if they have a Martian mentality. You know what I mean? I would understand if they say, hey, look, I'm a Martian people. And that's why I really want to emphasize to us as a people that we can't really go by race consciousness as much as we have to go by nationality. Because realistically speaking, the people who say, hey, look, I'm Mars first, while they're on Mars, they will have some sort of legitimacy there. If they come from the 1,000 African settlers to Mars, right? Whether they mix or not, they may say, "Hey, you know what? This is who I am. I'm one of the descendants of these 1,000." And that like I'm different from you guys who never settled on the moon or never settled on Mars, right? Now, what power they have is the real question is what power they have, right? And I think realistically speaking, the short story just to clarify, I think the short story is going to be critical of the Pan-Africanist view, the Pan-Africanists in their sense of trying to convert somebody who's been gone for 1,000 years, right? And only knew something else for 1,000 years. So it's actually supposed to be critical of that position while also showing that position, and to say that it kind of does touch on you know what, maybe they are different. Not that they are different, but but the psychology behind why they are different. And, that's one of the advantages of literature and writing is that you can show people like multiple sides to a thing, and it doesn't have to just be your side, But anyway, so Learning Curve says DuPont family, who were royals, are still very wealthy. Yeah, I mean, you might as well, like, that's the point. They do not care about the cost because through war they control all the resources. Yeah, I mean, because it's that the whole point of the war was to get the resources, to defend the resources for them, right? Afro Jam says people perpetuating the 20% lie want to promote race mixing. Over generation selection will create a phenotype. If you keep mixing, the people would stop being African. Yeah, if you keep mixing, yeah. The Euro calls themselves white to separate themselves from humans. It's a conscious choice, right? Yeah, definitely. David says, as a minority in another population, you would not be African. Like the Zimbabwe example, months ago, 30,000 Wazungu in Zimbabwe genes would die over generations. Yeah, I mean, like if they keep mixing, of course. That's the thing. The thing is, that's the thing. So I think inside of this story, I was going to have like the thing with stories is that it's really so much like you want to give a context, like it's like more or less that would be the background, the world building, but you would tell a story, and the story would be that essentially there's no sense in sparking like the main theme of that story would be that there's no sense in sparking a revolution on the moon or on Mars, and how people would not support you, but what you need to do if you were true to anything would be to leave that planet. And what I would have I think one of the politicians, somebody in power, somebody in authority, would be a white person, but who had very faint black ancestry too. You know what I'm saying? So he also would be mixed. But yeah, usually human populations would mix, like just normally, and they would be wiped out. But I was just more or less saying that, yeah, if you're a minority, like it's really a bad position to be a minority. And so the solution there would not be to, like, if you're on the Mars or the moon, to be like, hey, we're at like the main thing was to be critical of the people who say, let's be like we're here in America, we're this big African population, we should fight in America, so on and so forth. Like the main theme there would have been, you have to leave the moon, you have to leave Mars. You get what I'm saying? Because if you don't leave Mars, right? No, because here's the thing about being on Mars is that it makes, like, essentially. Oh no, sorry. So if you're talking all this Africa stuff while you're on Mars, the reality is this white boy is not going to let you leave Mars. I mean, if you need to leave Mars and you're the underclass, right? You can't afford to leave Mars because you don't have any spaceships. You understand? So you're essentially a doomed revolution. Like, you're an evolutionary on Mars, but you're talking all this stuff, right? What you'd have to do is reposition in Africa, right? You'd have to go to Africa, and then now the question becomes, what's going on in Africa, right? That this person 1,000 years in the future, I guess, right, would actually go to Africa for. You understand? But of course, if you're on the moon or on Mars or whatever, right, you're not gonna get the real information about Africa. So it's just really like it's just, I'll tell you this. So back when I was in high school, I went to this math camp for a second, right? And and this white boy came up. He was a Nobel laureate, like a winner of a Nobel Prize. He was like one of the, I think they said he was like one of the first mathematicians to win it. But he got it in chemistry because he solved this basic chemistry problem of if you have two liquids, right? And one liquid is like liquid A, liquid B, and you take a spoon, like a tablespoon of liquid A, and you put it in liquid B, and you mix it up. And then you take out a tablespoon of liquid B, the then mixture of liquid B, and you put in liquid A, and then you mix it up. What percentage of liquid B is liquid A? And all that kind of stuff, right? And it's a complicated problem, but he told us how he solved it and how to solve it. And he said this is just a general advice on how to solve problems. And the general advice of how to solve problems is look at the extreme case. Look at the extreme case. And so what the extreme case, so basically this allegory, if you will, is an extreme case of American settlers, like of the American perspective, American paradigm. And that's really what it comes down to. It's just really like an extreme case of, well, yeah, why are you operating in America? Why are you, like, if you really wanted to do something for African people, why are you on the moon? Like, why are you on the moon? Afrojam says natural selection and group selection will create a new African phenotype without constant genetic flow. Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. It'll be a new African phenotype, but it'll be an African phenotype. Like it's not like it depends. Like again, if they mix, then you could say it isn't. But if they don't mix, then you would say that they're still African. Like there's this group in Africa that they have like webbed feet. Like the whole tribe has like webbed feet. Like, they're Africans, but, it's just a really weird... I shouldn't say that, because they exist. But, yeah, you get what I'm saying. You can't go by race, and it's too ambiguous. Yeah, go by nation. Go by nation. Populations will naturally mix. Yup. Afrojam says, new selection, so on and so forth. Red Black Gentleman says, not so simply. Learning Curve says, clubs are a means of selecting phenotypes. Storytelling is powerful, always has been, always will be. Yeah. David says the only thing that would keep a minority genes proliferating is the face of a different ethnic majority. That minority being the elite plus strict apartheid laws. That's all I mean. Yeah, I mean it could go both ways though. It could go both ways. But like for instance, this white man could keep you away from him, but he just did it because why should he? And not just that. You did mix in the labor force. Like when you joined the labor class, you joined... Like here's the thing about proximity. I mean, you guys all remember this. Now, some of you maybe are doing better than the rest of us. But you all remember, if you went to the public school system, that if you had white classmates and black classmates, that you might... Like, you have proximity with these white folk. And you might be kind to them, or they might be kind to you, and they might impact you on a personal, psychological level. And that could influence you moving forward. Like, just your interaction, your engagement with other people can do that. Now, what the elite do, for what it's worth, is that they keep themselves apart and above. So you didn't really mix with the white elite, per se. And so maybe the white elite might, call you to the side and do something with you. But realistically speaking, they can control their population better than we can. So David says, so naturally, even in the USA, A's are generally lighter and lighter. Look at Dominican Republic, that's just the USA in 50 to 100 years. Yeah, exactly. That's what I noticed too. I'm telling you, man, these it's really tragic. And I'm telling you, one of the things that you want to do as an African, like the main lesson of the short story would have been, just my theme basically, which is you want to leave the fucking colony. You want to leave the colony. You want to leave the colony because if you're in the colony, chances are you're going to be absorbed. Chances are your people who are going to be loyal to the other people. Chances are if you're not absorbed, you're going to be a part of this underclass that's going to go nowhere and can't go anywhere. You can't afford a spaceship. You understand? So basically, like what you're going to find in America is that the African Americans do tend to be lighter the better class they're in. Like if you go to the hood, you'll see darker African people. A lot of times. Now, obviously, you'll see some light-skinned African people as well, but you'll see more genetically isolated people, and then as they get out of the hood, they will come into a world that is much lighter than them, right? And then they will mix with that world that is much lighter than them. You know, so it's really kind of like this white boy can pick the best of the quote-unquote worst, you know? He could pick the best of the black folk to mate with and procreate with and do whatever he wants because now he has power and you're looking for some sort of... Like, he has power and you're looking for protection, you know? And you go back to what Marcus Garvey said about the only thing that can protect people from injustice is power, physical, financial, and scientific. And remember, everybody's looking for protection. You know, the whole reason why you're living in a city-state is for protection. All right, so Afro Jam says, David, yes, somewhat it depends on how much small the minority is by proportion. Yeah, I'm a few minutes behind, but I heard the context, so we're good. The point is to leave. Yeah, the point is to leave, yeah. Afro Jam says, Dominican Republic whites have never been a majority. The Dominicans whites had a policy to mix. Yeah, they had a policy to mix. The USA does not now have a race mixing policy. Oh, yeah. So the Dominican Republic did have a... Oh, the DR he's talking about... Oh, I thought you were talking about Brazil. Yeah, so Brazil is another example of, like, it's a huge quote-unquote black people. And then, again, you could see a lot of well-melanated black folk. But, again, they're not going to be in the upper class. Remember, all nations are for the upper class. Okay? All nations are designed for the upper class. That's why the upper class participate in them. The upper class are not going to go to work every day to serve anybody but themselves, primarily. You know? Too bad the U.S. don't have a wealth mixing policy. Yeah, nobody has a wealth mixing policy. You know what I'm saying? You know, nobody has a wealth mixing policy except for the comrades, but they don't understand wealth at all. Because it's like, you got to pay this person who's making the burger. If you don't pay the person who's making the burger, then what are you talking about? So anyway, so this is the last group, I guess. This is the Nevolutionaries. I don't remember what these quotes are. By the way, if you guys have any examples, I'm going to try to find 5 every week, plus 1. So if you have anything that you think that I need to read about, let me know, and I'll go into it. But here's the last one for the day. This is, Nevolutionaries. Okay. Woo! All right. So this was January 25th. This is another Nevolutionary. Now, actually, I can't even tell. It looks like, looking closer, this might not even be a black person, so I probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah, it might not be a black person. My fault. But yeah, I guess I did 5. But anyway, this is the horribly racist white girl to nurse teacher pipeline is alive and real. You know, again, you know. Now, like I said, I probably shouldn't even talk about this because it's not really a black person. But yeah, the horribly racist white girl to nurse teacher pipeline is alive and real. The idea is that white people make their girls occupy traditionally, I guess you could say traditionally female occupations, right? And that's a problem. You understand? Like, it doesn't even make any damn sense. Why would the white man not give if he's going to give his daughters jobs, why would he not give his daughters good jobs? You know? Why is that a problem to you that he gives his daughters good jobs? You know? What we have to realize about it is, like for instance, like, let's say, because a lot of times we talk about nepotism, we don't like nepotism, but let's be for real. Like, I got my son, you know, in the next room. If I do something great in Africa, and they say, hey, Oni, you know, here's this, or whatever. Let's say I set up a business in Africa, right? And my son says, hey, look, I didn't, I'm having trouble, right? You think I'm not going to give him a position? I'm not going to give him no money? You know? Or like, why wouldn't I? Like, why wouldn't I? Like, you have to understand, people have a bias towards their nationality. They also have a bias towards their ethnicity. And that's fine. You know? That's fine. I mean, obviously, you know, there's a degree to which you might say, hey, you know what? That person is unsuited. Right? But if you're making somebody out to be unsuited, you don't make them out unsuited by virtue of impacting another group negatively. Right? Like, all right, I'll say it this way. Okay, let me say it this way. All right. Let's say I'm working in a business. All right, plain and simple. I'm working in a business, right, for a white man. Okay, I'm working in a business for a white man, right? The white man is pro-white. He's pro-white. If my working for him, right, hurts black people, he doesn't care. Okay? If my working for him hurts white people and he's pro-white, okay, then he cares. And it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. But see, the evolutionary contact. Now again, like I said, it's not a black person, so I made a mistake. So I guess I'll just do 5. But still, the evolutionary will tell you, hey, look, you're hurting me, right? But this white boy did not kill off these Native Americans. Now we're talking about America right now, right? So this white boy did not kill off the Native Americans, right? Go on a 4-month journey across the Atlantic Ocean. Some of them dying on the way, right? Did not set up a colony, have people cut down trees. Might have been Africans cutting down trees, but have all this stuff, going to Africa and kidnapping people and all that stuff. He did not do this for your behalf. He did this for his behalf. You understand? And until you understand that people set up colonies for themselves, people set up settlements for themselves, until you notice that, forget about it. Okay, just forget about it. Because you essentially don't know anything. When you think that this society is designed to benefit you, right? Now this might be a little awkward. This might be a little awkward. But I'm gonna tell you guys something I heard. Because remember, I was studying from the Book of Power, and I listened to a couple of Amos Wilson stuff. I couldn't put most of it in, but I remember one thing Amos Wilson said about I think the Native Americans or America. And he was like, "Look, if you want to understand something, go to its beginning." Right, and I mean, I'll tell you this too. The ancient African ancestors said the same thing similarly. So it's not like it's just something that you should know. But here's the thing: America starts off killing. It starts off with genocide and mass enslavement. This is not something that really takes offense to racist white girls getting good jobs. They left Europe so they could get some good jobs, so get some better jobs. When you hear there's a silver mine in America, when you hear there's a silver mine in Dominican Republic, when you hear that there's sugar and salt to be harvested in Haiti, you say to yourself, well, I can bring sugar and salt to Europe. I can bring silver to Europe. They did it all for Europe, and they eventually did it for themselves. That's how things are done. So Kofi finishes off. Oh no, that's not the last. But all right. Kofi says, if you read white folks for the past, you will see they say to encourage race mixing because misraced folks want to be white. Yeah, I mean, yeah, some of them do, some of them don't. Thomas Jefferson, who raped Sally Hemings a lot and had children with her and has descendants with her who are proud of their Thomas Jefferson heritage. Well, a lot of them are, right? Either way, Thomas Jefferson, yeah, he wrote the manual on how. I think he did. I think it was on how to mix. I think he wrote the manual on how to mix. But yeah, like the thing with white people and black people and everybody in general is that you're gonna have a diversity of thoughts. You're gonna have a diversity of philosophies. You're going to have, but ultimately, at the end of the day, the people who have power and the closest proximity to power are the white folk. It's a sinking ship for black people. Okay, you'd want to be a majority population. That's really what you want to be, And if you're not a majority population, you're going to spend your life with misery. I'll tell you this, guys. In fact, so one of the things I remember from I don't know if I have a quote on this actually, but one of the things I remember from Job is that, and I mean Job is another person you're gonna be like, how is only quoting Job, right? But okay, so I don't have it. But what's this? Negrid osteology developed in the paleo. All right. So anyway, so one of the things that Cheikh Uncle Job said was that if you look at ancient Greek literature, right, that they start off with this sort of called tragedy, and every tragedy was about Dionysius. Okay, so Dionysius was at the heart of every single. I don't know how to spell his name, so I'm just gonna let the autocorrect do it, right? So Dionysius. So he says every tragedy is on the center of Dionysius, right? And so look at this. This is I mean, you can see it right here. Dionysius was the son of Zeus and Semiel, a daughter of Cadmus, the king of Thebes. If you know where Thebes is, and if you know where Thebes is, you know where we're going with this, right? So he says Dionysius, but this is Wikipedia. We're gonna go to Wikipedia. This is what Dionysius looked like. So you see, it's kind of whatever. But he says every single tragedy story is about Dionysius. This is a statue of Dionysius from a 2nd century Roman, so it wouldn't be the original Greek one, right? So they're telling these tragedies, right? What you find though is that Dionysius is actually Osiris. Okay, I don't know if they say Egyptian equivalent of Osiris, right? Dionysius is actually Osiris, right? And then look, I didn't see this page before, so I couldn't tell you one way or another. Look at this. It said parents Zeus, Amon, and Amathe. like they don't even gotta hide it, man. The father is Amon. This is not even me. This is not me making this up. Okay? Because some of you gonna be like, then you just on that Hotep shit. This is not me. This is Wikipedia. This is not me writing Wikipedia. You can check it out. I didn't write this stuff. This is what people know. But anyway, so Job tells you about Dionysius, all the tragedies, and what you realize, what I came to the conclusion of, right, was that at the heart of every tragedy, right, in Europe, in Greece, was this African in Europe. That's it. All the stories were about an African in Europe. And if you know about Dionysius, the cult of Dionysius, this was the first feminists. These are the first feminists in Western history, as far as we know. I don't know if they have it. Oh, cult of Dionysius. Oh, dang, they actually do. Well, I mean, the only reason why I know these terms, I never looked it up. I never looked at Wikipedia or whatever. Usually, I wouldn't even look at Wikipedia, right? But these are also considered the first feminists, as to say that if you look into, I have older literature on this, but if you look into some of my earlier writing, you'll see that the reason why the African culture was the quote unquote feminist in this Western culture. But anyway, but that's it though. The tragedy, you're always going to have a tragic life if you are in the West. That's all I'm going to tell you. That's all I'm going to tell you. And it's just the definition of tragedies is you, an African, in a white world, in a white country, in a white nation. That's what a tragedy is. And it's not me saying this. This is the ancient Greeks. Some of y'all like that. So anyway, Mzungu don't want blacks to leave because they exploit them. Others don't want blacks to leave because they know they will become the new crystallized exploited group. Yeah. I mean, look. You collectively don't worry about black people on a collective level. Like if you on Mars, don't worry about black folk on a collective level on Mars because you can't afford no damn spaceship to travel them to moon or to Earth. What you have to do if you're on Mars is you gotta find some damn way to leave. Now, how can you leave? I don't know. The difference is this: when you're in America, you can't leave. You can't leave. Don't worry about the masses. The masses are going. They're here for labor. They're going to stay for labor, and they're going to be comfortable there. If you're on the moon, like I said, if you're on Mars or whatever, you probably have 3D projector television. You got technology we can't even think about. This is 1,000 years from now, right? Assuming that everything don't go to shit. They got better technology than us, right? Don't worry about like they're good. They're gonna hear stories about what's going on in Africa. And it might be real, it might be fake, it don't matter. Whatever they're being told, they're going to say, hey, we got it better. They're good. Don't worry about them. The girl who had the 6 shoes, or the 10 pairs of shoes, she's not hurting. She's not hurting. She's flexing. You understand? And I'll tell you this in fact. When I was in Ghana, because I have a cheap phone. You know, probably because my son likes to break it. Probably because, I'll tell you the truth, I'm cheap. You know what I'm saying? When I was in Ghana, this sister took a picture, because I took a picture. She took a picture of herself. I don't know, but she took a picture and the resolution was good. And I come to find out she had like one of them later, can't afford this phone. Apparently though, like somebody her boyfriend at the time bought it for her. All the same, that's what it is. People are good. They're good. Just forget it. Just forget about sacrificing all your time and energy to save other people if you don't save yourself. Put the life vest on yourself first. Get yourself that profitable venture, that profitable business. Then you can say, hey, you know what? You can select who you want to save. If you want to save us collectively, or you want to save other black people collectively, then if you can afford it, go for it. But otherwise, you could be like, hey, you know what? I need a top scientist and Neil deGrasse Tyson. I got a job for you. You know, that is if you want Neil deGrasse Tyson. You know? But like anybody. But until you have that, and until you're in that position, the white boy is going to say, Neil deGrasse Tyson, I got a job for you. You understand? And remember, Neil deGrasse Tyson, he tells you, I didn't get to watch his Cosmo series. I watched the white boy before him, Cosmo series. The white boy, actually, Neil deGrasse Tyson in the first episode, though, he tells us that he went to the other white boy when he was a kid. And was like, and the kid was like, and the white boy was like, yeah, go for it. Try to be an astronomer. Right? But he was pursuing astronomy or whatever in order to escape his condition. And white people accepted him. So that's why he's loyal to them. That's why he would marry into them. Because the opportunity, the economy, the economics is there. We got to pay attention. You can't worry about the grand scheme of things. You have to worry about what you can do individually. Remember, it's about what you're doing right now or what you have done, not what you expect to do. You understand? Others don't want blacks to leave. Yeah, so I say Jefferson pushed for breeding slaves versus importing them. Yep, because essentially the British cut back on the British had the Navy, and they cut back on the trade or the people coming from one place to the other partly because they wanted to go into capitalism. They wanted to go into market forces and real prices and all that kind of stuff. Like if you're not paying your labor, that's impacting the prices of things. That's impacting how much profit you're getting. That's impacting quite a bit. And then of course like there's a lot going on, but basically the capital, and that's the irony. The capitalists did not want slavery. They wanted workers. They wanted labor. They wanted white people to work not on plantations but on in factories. Anyway, Real Black Gentleman says white folks ultimately wanted wealth in America for the goods they wanted in Europe. They still desired fine European goods to this day. Of course, and that's what I'm saying. Like if you, because remember the people who came to America oftentimes were not necessarily like the richest. They weren't necessarily the richest. They weren't necessarily the nobles. They weren't necessarily the wealthy. They were people who wanted a better life for themselves. Again, a lot of migration is economic migration. And that's no different for white folk. They wanted a better opportunity and they got it. And they're not trying to lose it based off of something that you may want. Speaking of which, let me just go to this first page while we're closing out, by the way. So, but I appreciate everybody for coming through. Let's see. So you got the manginas. I know you. Manginas. Anyway. So you guys see ABA's got 4 and other people got things. So it's a total of 6 for today. But let me see if what were we doing? Oh yeah. So let me just read the comments. I'm getting hungry. I actually didn't get to eat today, but it is what it is. So David finishes off with Thomas Jefferson wrote an algebraic equation for how to erase black people. They were trying to figure out what to do with all the slaves if they were freed, but they still needed cheap labor. Yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, that's really there's this quote that I really I regret that I can't find it. So it was one of the most fascinating quotes I ever read when I was in high school, right? I think I was doing like AP European history, and the quote just came up there, right? So these white people just shared it, and I couldn't find it since. But this white boy says the reason why they were arguing against education, so they were arguing against public education for white people in Europe. They were arguing against education because they felt like an educated person would not make a good worker, would not do work, would not work as much as, or not work as readily or as willingly as somebody who did not have an education. Somebody who doesn't see anything better for themselves and so on and so forth. All that kind of thing. But the point being that it's like essentially, when you talk about cheap labor, you really got to also realize it doesn't got to be cheap labor. It's got to be labor. In the sense that Thomas Jefferson was not willing to go on any sort of plantation and pick whatever, like cotton or tobacco, or whatever. He was not willing to do that himself. You have to look at us as, like, everybody as an individual, right? And if an individual can make money by not working, right? That's what they would prefer. Okay? One of my favorite words, I have a few favorite words, but one of my favorite words in English, I guess, is sinecure. Yeah, sinecure. So a sinecure, because I got it wrong on the PSAT practice, and I was like, what? Let me go look into it, and I was like, oh, that's actually a pretty good word. I should have known that. Well, I shouldn't have known it, but a sinecure is a job that pays good money, but requires little labor, little work. That's a sinecure. That's what people want. They want the money without working. And that's what businesses are about. That's what this is about. That's what so on and so forth about. That's what people want. Right? It's not, you even got to say cheap labor. They want, like, people want to wake up in the morning and not have to work, but still have the wealth. Still get the good stuff from Europe. Still get the comfort and all that stuff. And that's what slavery provided for these white folk. That's what it provided for these white folk. It provided, now it was hard on black folk, but again, you have to look at it from an individual perspective. The individual doesn't care if you're working your ass off, as long as they get the money. And so what happens is that education kind of does make it so that you will, like, it doesn't stop you from needing to work, but you may feel like, oh, that work is beneath me. And so these white people were arguing among themselves. One white person rationalized, yeah, we shouldn't have public education. We shouldn't even educate our own people so that more of our people would be labor. They don't give a shit about us. And they shouldn't. And likewise, you shouldn't give a shit about them. Anyway, thank you so much, family, for coming through. 13 likes. Let me shout out everybody in the chat, because that's a thing. So Kofi said greetings. I shouldn't read it, but hey, Kofi, shout out to Kofi. Organic African Paradigm. Make sure you guys check out his channel. Tyler Solomon, great brother, always. David, another great brother. Tikom, great. Learning Curve, great. Derek, great. I'm new to Derek, but great nonetheless. Red Black Gentleman, great. And Jiggin, great. Afro Jam, shout out to Afro Jam, great. I think that's everybody. But yeah, I appreciate everybody for the dialogue, the discussion. I wasn't even sure that things were gonna come through. Sinecure. Oh yeah, my other favorite word is, I think, apotheosis. Apotheosis, and that's just a belief that people want to, like, it's like apparently it's like a European word, a Greek word about a person wanting to become a god, okay, wanting to become a deity, deifying. And what you find out later on in life is that that's what the ancient Egyptian spiritual system was, like, partly about, becoming that nature in a sense, right? So that's also. I probably misspelled apotheosis, but that's actually my official favorite word. But sinecure is another word that I like, and I mean that's what I go by. Like for instance, when I would love to be able to just sell books and just have the books sell themselves. That would be nice. That's what people would. That's what we want. Now, do they sell themselves? No. So, but it is what it is. But that's also why Yvette Carnell is doing what she's doing because she can make good money. She can make better money not working. Just talking. She can make good money doing that. Her super chat blows up, particularly at the height of, particularly at the beginning of ADOS's, fame. That's why she's doing it. And all we have to say is this. Like one, how do we get sinecures for ourselves if that's the case? But two, also, how do we get our people to labor for us outside of the... And of course, one of the main ways is to give them money, and then to make their jobs possibly easier or whatever. But it is what it is. We're going to close off, and Kofi says good stream. Jiggin said thank you for the spelling, and Jiggin says I've been taking the SAT. Tried plus. I'm going to add it to my arsenal. Yeah, definitely. Thank you. Plus, I'm going to add it to my arsenal. Yeah. For the SAT, for any of these tests, by the way, any of these standardized tests, they have to have a book. You got to give them a study book and just work it out with them. One other thing I'll tell you too is that I have so my son, I started homeschooling him, and I've been homeschooling him for a minute, but I'm constantly refining my method. What I could tell you is this: get you get a notebook and just read through the SAT problems you got. Kind of like just change them up. Like look at the practice problems, change them up or whatever. And just give them to your kid in a notebook, and tell your kid go do this in the notebook and come back to me when you're finished. Like just help them out. It just be there. It's really. I mean, it's better. Like I personally went through the book by myself and all that kind of stuff. But since you're clearly that active parent, just do that. Just say, hey, look, here's a notebook. Here's some questions. Here's whatever. Write it out or type it out or whatever. Give it to them and just practice with them. See where they're strong. See where they're weak. And they'll do all that stuff. Also, I can tell you this: if you're not on my Discord, check out on the Discord. I have actually a worksheet I used to teach SAT math to a bunch of kids. So you could check out that link as well. That's actually a fun one. So and like a bunch of people wanted to learn the SATs. I just had like a little worksheet that was telling people how to solve the different math problems that come up. Because the SAT, at least at that time, had the same kind of questions. So, definitely that's another thing you could go through with your kid. But other than that, thank everybody for coming through. And of course, Shem Hotep, Akuja, Seneb Neb, Amen, Ma'at, Dua Neche.